Hey beginner sewers, if you've been feeling frustrated because your stitching looks off, your fabric isn't behaving, or your projects never come out the way you imagined, you are not alone. These are mistakes most beginners make, but today I'm going to help you avoid them so sewing feels simple and confidence building. Mistake 1. Not threading your machine correctly. If your stitches suddenly look messy or your thread keeps tangling, the most common cause is incorrect threading. Even one missed guide can throw everything off. How it affects your process or project. Causes thread nests, skip stitches, or uneven tension. Machine feels broken when it's just misthreaded, or seams look messy and weak. Mistake 1. How to fix and avoid in the future. Always thread with the presser foot up. Follow every thread guide and rethread completely when stitches look off. Mistake 2. Not inserting the needle all the way up. If your needle isn't all the way up, your machine can't form proper stitches. This tiny mistake causes huge frustration. How it affects your process or project. Skip stitches or stitches not forming properly. Thread not catching or seams randomly stop forming. Mistake 2. How to fix and avoid in the future. Push the needle up until it stops. Tighten clamps securely and check every needle change. Mistake 3. Sewing with old or cheap thread. Old or cheap thread snaps easily and leaves lint inside your machine, which creates tension problems and weak stitching. How it affects your process or project. Thread breaks constantly, lint buildup inside the machine, and weak seams. Mistake 3. How to fix and avoid in the future. Switch to all-purpose quality thread. Discard brittle or dusty thread. Mistake 4. Ignoring tension settings. If your stitches look perfect on top but messy underneath, your tension needs adjusting. Scraps save your projects here. How it affects your process or project. Loopy stitches underneath, puckered fabric, weak or unstable seams. Mistake 4. How to fix and avoid in the future. Test tension on a scrap. Adjust one number at a time. Retest before sewing on real fabric. Remember to click the subscribe button for more beginner-friendly sewing tips and tutorials. Mistake 5. Using the wrong fabric as a beginner. Starting with difficult fabric makes sewing feel harder than it needs to be. Cotton helps you build confidence faster. How it affects your process or project. Fabric fights the machine. Frustration increases quickly. Crooked seams and uneven handling. Mistake 5. How to fix and avoid in the future. Start with cotton. Avoid sheer, thick, or silky fabrics early. Mistake 6. Using fabric that's too slippery or stretchy. Slippery and stretchy fabrics move while you sew, making clean seams very difficult as a beginner. How it affects your process or project. Layers slide, seams stretch out, wavy stitching. Mistake 6. How to fix and avoid in the future. Use clips instead of pins. Sew slowly. Practice first on scraps. Mistake 7. Cutting without measuring properly. When you guess your cuts, your project won't line up later. Measuring first saves fabric and frustration. How it affects your process or project. Pieces don't match. Uneven seams. Projects don't line up. Mistake 7. How to fix and avoid in the future. Measure twice. Mark cut lines. Use rulers every time. Mistake 8. Cutting fabric without flattening it first. If fabric isn't flat, your cutting won't be accurate. Press first for clean pieces. How it affects your process or project. Distorted pieces, wavy seams, poor alignment. Mistake 8. How to fix and avoid in the future. Press before cutting. Smooth fabric fully flat. If you've been blaming your sewing machine for these issues, you'll want to see the next one because it's usually not the machine. Mistake 9. Sewing too fast. Sewing fast feels productive, but it causes crooked seams. Slow sewing gives you better results. How it affects your process or project. Loss of control, crooked stitches, more seam ripping. Mistake 9. How to fix and avoid in the future. Use light foot pedal pressure. Focus on control over speed. Mistake 10. Not using the seam guide. When you follow the needle instead of the guide, your seam allowance changes. The guide keeps stitches straight. How it affects your process or project. Inconsistent seam allowance, crooked edges, uneven projects. Mistake 10. How to fix and avoid in the future. Follow the guideline, not the needle. Use guide tape if needed. Mistake 11. Not backstitching at the beginning and end. Backstitching locks your stitches in place. Without it, seams slowly pull apart. How it affects your process or project. Seams unravel. Projects fall apart over time. Mistake 11. How to fix and avoid in the future. Backstitch 3 to 4 stitches at each end. Make it automatic. Mistake 12. Skipping pressing. Pressing is what turns a homemade project into a professional looking one. How it affects your process or project. Puffy seams, uneven alignment, homemade appearance. Mistake 12. How to fix and avoid in the future. Press every seam as you sew. Keep an iron nearby. Sewing mistake check. If it feels personal, you're in the right place. Mistake 13. Not pinning or clipping properly. When layers aren't secured, they slide and your seam line shifts. How it affects your process or project. Fabric shifts, layers misalign, crooked seams. Mistake 13. How to fix and avoid in the future. Pin every few inches. Clip thick areas. Mistake 14. Sewing in a cluttered workspace. When your space is cluttered, mistakes increase and motivation drops. How it affects your process or project. Lost tools, snagged fabric, increased cutting errors. Mistake 14. How to fix and avoid in the future. Clear your surface before sewing. Do a 5-minute reset. Mistake 15. Not practicing on scraps first. Scraps let you learn without fear. Practice first, project second. How it affects your process or project. No prep for settings. Ruin project fabric. Lower confidence. Mistake 15. How to fix and avoid in the future. Test every stitch on scraps. Keep a scrap container beside your machine. Confidence builder. If you recognize yourself in any of these mistakes, that's actually a good thing. It means you're learning. Every confident sewist you see today started right where you are right now. Sewing isn't about perfect, it's about showing up, practicing, and getting a little better each time you sit at your machine. You don't have to know everything today, you just have to keep going. If you want even more beginner support, grab my 15-minute setup checklist. It walks you through everything you need to start sewing with confidence. And don't forget to subscribe for more simple, beginner-friendly sewing tips.